Kenya, a country known for its strong democracy and beautiful landscapes, is in trouble. A wave of fear is spreading across the land. Abductions, mysterious disappearances, and silencing those who disagree with the government have become normal. The hope that came with President William Ruto's election in 2022 has turned into a scary reality. Kenya, once a shining example of progress in East Africa, is on the edge of disaster. At the center of this problem is a very worrying pattern of human rights abuses. People who speak against the government, journalists, and human rights activists are being targeted without consequence. They are being silenced, kidnapped, and even killed. Instead of upholding the law, the authorities seem to be involved in these acts of violence. The very foundation of Kenya's democracy is under attack. Since taking office, President Ruto's administration has faced accusations of corruption and acting like a dictator. Critics say his government is more interested in holding on to power than helping the people. The promises of a better economy and unity haven't happened. Instead, there is fear and intimidation everywhere. Reports from international groups paint a bleak picture. Transparency International ranks Kenya low in its Corruption Perceptions Index, showing how widespread corruption is within the government. The arrest and jailing of opposition leaders, often on made-up charges, have raised serious concerns about the weakening of democracy. One of the most disturbing things happening in Kenya is the increase in enforced disappearances. People who criticize the government, especially those active online, have vanished without a trace. Their families are left heartbroken, desperately looking for answers from authorities who seem unwilling or unable to help. Human rights groups have recorded many cases of kidnappings. Victims are often forced into unmarked cars in broad daylight, never to be seen again. The lack of responsibility for these crimes is deeply troubling. The police, who are supposed to protect people, are often accused of being involved in these disappearances. The constant threat of kidnapping and violence has created a dark cloud over Kenya. People are afraid to speak up, fearing punishment from the government. Journalists censor themselves, worried about their safety and their families. The once active civil society is being silenced, its voice slowly fading away. The impact on Kenya's society is devastating. Trust in institutions is disappearing, replaced by suspicion and fear. The opportunity for discussion and disagreement, essential for any democracy, is quickly shrinking. This atmosphere of fear is stopping creativity, innovation, and progress. Section 5 Echoes of Impunity, a history of unanswered crimes. Sadly, what's happening in Kenya now isn't new. The country has a long and troubled history of human rights abuses, often without anyone being held responsible. The violence after the election in 2007 and 2008, which killed over 1,000 people, is a painful reminder of the country's capacity for violence. The scars of past violence remain, a reminder of the cost of impunity. The failure to punish those who committed past crimes has created a culture of impunity. This impunity makes those in power feel like they can do whatever they want, ignoring the law. It sends a dangerous message that those who do terrible things will not face justice. Section 6. The World Watches. International Condemnation and Calls for Action. The world is watching what's happening in Kenya. Governments, human rights organizations, and international institutions have condemned the Ruto administration's actions. They have demanded an end to the kidnappings, the release of political prisoners, and respect for the rule of law. The United States, an important friend of Kenya, has expressed its worry about the worsening human rights situation. The European Union has threatened to impose sanctions if the Ruto administration doesn't address these concerns. The African Union has also called for restraint and respect for human rights. Section 7. A Nation on the Precipice. The Urgent Need for Justice. Kenya is at a crossroads. The path it chooses will have big consequences, not just for its people but for the whole region. If this continues, Kenya risks becoming a dictatorship, losing its hard-won democracy. The international community must not stand by and do nothing. Targeted sanctions against those responsible for human rights abuses should be considered. Support for Kenyan civil society organizations working to promote human rights and democracy must be increased. Section 8. Can Kenya find its way back? Even though things look bad, there is still hope for Kenya. The country has active citizens, a free press, though under threat, and a court system that has shown independence in the past. These institutions, though weakened, can still hold the government accountable. The Kenyan people have a long history of fighting against injustice. They have shown resilience and determination when things are tough. It is this strength that offers hope for a better future. Section 9. A call to action. Stand with Kenya. The crisis in Kenya is not just Kenya's problem, it's a problem for the whole world. It tests our shared belief in human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. We cannot stay quiet when such serious injustices are happening. We must speak up for those who have been silenced. We must demand justice for the crimes that have been committed. We must stand with the Kenyan people as they fight for their rights and their future. The time to act is now. We must not let them down.